All righty. All right, guys, we're getting ready to get started, and I just want to welcome you all to my first mastermind class on maximizing you. This is going to be an amazing class. It's what I've been working on for some time now, and I have always been intrigued on how we think, how we see ourselves, and what position other people see us. Many times we never look at ourselves as being a leader. We always look at ourselves as being a wife, a mother, a friend, a sister, an aunt. But we never look at ourselves as being a leader from a standpoint of what does a leader look like. And a leader looks like what you want a leader to look like. Who do you want to become? Who are you? And so tonight we're going to delve into that. So over the next 3 nights, we're going to be looking at the different strategies and different things. But tonight we're going to dig deep, and we're really going to talk about who we are as an individual. I'm going to be transparent tonight with some things that I'm going to share with you about myself. And for a few housekeeping rules, if you will put your any comments or any questions into the chat section, that way I will get to them at the very end, and we'll be able to answer those questions. So if I don't get to those questions tonight, I will get to those by the end of the 3 nights that's over. And hopefully that we will have your questions answered. So we're only going live on Zoom. We're not live on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. This is a recorded session so that we can go back and we can share it with those that want it on demand. But I believe this is going to be life-changing. I believe it's going to be impactful. And so, as they said in wrestling, let's get ready to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble. So our agenda tonight is, what is the problem? Debunk the myths of how you think. We're going to talk about that. Who has the problem? We do. Why should this problem be solved? God designed the mind to his liking. Put a pin right there because we're going to get back to that. Number 4, how will I know this problem has been solved? You have to go back to the Creator. We're going to talk some more about that tonight. So I'm going to move you all up a little bit. There we go. Detoxifying or detoxing information. One of the hardest things to do is to rethink an unhealthy thought, especially if you think it is right. To detox your thought life, you need to be cognitive, relating to being involved in how you think. It is how you're thinking that will change your brain. In other words, your brain changes the way you think. You got to be conscious of where you let your mind wander, and the conversations that you engage in will shape how you think. So you got to be mindful of those that are in your circle and the conversations that you have with them, because it will shape how you think. To debunk is to expose falseness or hollowness of a myth, idea, or belief. So let's stop there. So remember growing up, we would play certain games, and I remember the game Marco Polo. And I was also always ask myself the question, why are we saying Marco Polo? Who is Marco Polo? Because you never saw him. But it was an idea of a game in a pool. And so it was the myth of the game, or the belief of the game, is that I say Marco and you holler Polo, and my job was to find your voice while in the water. So that's the idea of a belief that as we played it as children, it was believed to be true at that moment. But as we grew up and we got older, we realized it was just a game. But for many people that I've learned as adults, we still look at life as a game. We do not take life very seriously. And many of us have dealt with a lot of mind-blowing and a lot of hard situations in life that have caused us to even question our mental stability. Am I really cognizant of who I really am and what I believe? So how do we discover this problem? We must choose to rewire, to renew our mind. So Romans 12:2, and it's a familiar passage that we all have known and we have read, we've looked at it, but I want to look at it tonight. I'm going to read it, and sometimes reading it out loud brings a very different light to it. So we're going to look at Romans 12:2, and it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Notice it said in this particular text, it said to do not be conformed. In other words, do not follow after other beliefs or ideas that do not align with how you think. Because there is a pattern of this world system that they have. And if you're not very, if you don't pay attention, the world system will take over how you think. I often tell people, I'm not a commercial person, but when I watch commercials on TV, especially commercials about medication, and you think about all the side effects that the medications have, and then you often think to yourself, well, why would I want to take a medication that I may be blind and make his heart attack, stroke? All these effects may become out of this medication that I take. So I look at it, and in my subconscious mind, I'm saying to myself, this medication is not going to work for me. Or let's flip it. You get insomnia, and at late at night, 12, 1 o'clock at night, those infomercials come on, and they present to you all these things you can buy for your house. I've been guilty. I've stayed up or seen a commercial. Oh, yeah, I'm going to order that. Only to get it and to realize I never used it, never opened up the box. But because my subconscious mind said to me, I need that, I bought it. And I realized I didn't need it. And then the text goes on to say, once your mind has been renewed, then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is and his good and pleasing will for your life. You can only test what's been renewed. You cannot test something that's not been proven. You cannot test something that you've not tried before. And the thing that I find for many of us, we get caught like a hamster. We start running in a circle, and that hamster or that gerbil runs in a circle constantly, and they never go anywhere. And it's almost like it's an exercise for them, and they never get out of the wheel. And especially in our minds, we never can break out of that box because we think what we believe is the truth. And many times it may be the truth, but it's all in how you perceive it to be. Number 2, how do you get information to how you think? It's a lifestyle change. As a man or woman thinks in his heart, so is he or she. You have to actively choose happiness rather than letting external and internal thoughts define who you are. If you've been told all your life, you're never going to be anything, you're never going to amount to anything, all you're going to ever be able to do is be a janitor, you're never going to go to school. If you've been always told those things, you start to believe those things. And then you become what they say that you are. But I want to flip that. Who does God say that you are? That's just a question. Many times we don't reflect upon who God says that we are, but we reflect upon what other people say that we are. The last 7 days I was in Africa, I was in Morocco, and in one of our sessions we talked about what we reflect, we deflect. And we had a mirror, and in that mirror we had to look at that mirror, and we had to look at ourselves, and we had to ask ourselves, who are we in the mirror? The man or the woman in the mirror, who am I? Those are hard questions. It's simple by me saying it, but it's a hard question because it causes you to deal with yourself. And that is the one person we don't want to deal with is ourselves. You've got to choose. You can choose happiness. You can choose sadness. You can choose to get over that hard area in your life, or you can choose to stay where you are. But I pray and I hope to believe that those that have tuned in tonight, you're going to choose tonight. I came on tonight because I want to change how I think and I want to change how I see myself. We can all get out of control in our minds. Let me say that again. We can all get out of control in our minds. Our minds can go into some deep, dark places. Our minds can go into some places and you ask yourself, how did I let my mind get here? How did I ever find myself in this place? It's because of the environment that we're in, the people we engage in conversation with, and those we allow in our inner circle. So there again, I go back to the question, who's in your circle? What conversations are you engaging in? And what does your environment look like? Those are some questions that you have to ask yourself. And detoxing your life and how you think, you've got to ask yourself some critical questions. Who am I? Tonight's class tonight is going to look at us. Who are we? Tomorrow night, we're going to start talking about strategies. And we're going to end on the strategies on the third night. But tonight, I want you to focus on you because we can allow our minds to get out of control. God is revealing to us every day by the way that we think. The question remains, do you want to embrace what God is revealing to you? Let me say that again. Do you want to embrace what God is revealing to you? That can be a scary question. That can be a scary place to be in. What is God revealing to you? Last week on vacation, my sabbatical, while we were in bustling, tussling, and shopping and out in city and watching the people and learning the culture, I'm looking at the environment around me. And I'm saying to myself, this environment seems so chaotic. This environment seems disorganized. This environment that I'm in seems like, I don't know how they do it 24/7, 365. But I realized I came into their environment. So in order for me to have survived 8 days, I had to change the way I saw the environment that I was in order for me to adjust to be in that environment for 7 days. And it only took me 1 day to realize I'm only here for 7 days. But while I'm here, if I'm going to get the most of my time, I've got to adjust to the environment. It didn't take me much time to realize I've got to do an environmental change. The other thing that made it easy was the people that was in my circle with me. It was all new to us. So we all learn to change and engage together. It's a lot easier when you can do this thing together. Get you an accountability partner, someone that can keep you on track when you feel yourself derailing. Because I don't know about you, but my train has derailed many times when I wish I should have called somebody first and say, hey, I feel like I'm going in the wrong direction. Can you help me get back on track? But what we do is we derail, get off track, try to get the train back on the track, only to realize we don't have the right tools to do that. Research says this, and this is the thing right here that really blew my mind when in my study. There was a study done on students in Soweto, South Africa, and Harvard students. 95% of the Soweto children love schoolwork and learning, in comparison to 80% of 4 out of 5 Harvard students who suffer from depression, so debilitating they could not function. The Harvard students saw choosing to change their minds to learn as a heavy burden, and the students in Soweto, in an impoverished country, loved learning. Notice it was the love of learning versus the burden to learn and to live up to the golden standard of a Harvard graduate. I want you to get past the fact that me learning to change how I think shouldn't be a burden, but it should really be a relief. You should want to fall in love with learning how to get rid of the burden that's in your mind. Those things that are bogging you down, you should want to get to a place that I want to let them go. And you should want to be like the Soweto children. I love learning. Learning can be rewarding when it's not a burden. You don't want to set such a high standard for yourself that you never meet the mark. Find a place that you can start at that you're comfortable with and build from that. You can set your mind way up, but I want you to realize that you're only going to get to that level when you learn to love the way you think and then change what you think into your passion. We're going to get to that. Other ways, don't allow difficult life experiences to block you. We have all tonight had some difficult life experiences that have blocked the way we think. We've allowed those things to stay in our mind too long. We've allowed those people to occupy spaces far too long. We've allowed ourselves to engage in conversations far too long, and they block what we thought about ourselves, what we thought about the environment, and what we thought about the people that were there around us. You've got to learn how to change if you want to see yourself in a different light. You must choose workable solutions. Solution number one, you must choose to have a controlled thought life and to be happy and healthy. We can learn to improve our thinking, learning. We need to wire in positive thoughts, networks that can fill us with power to get back on track. We have the power to get back on track. The question remains to us. The question remains to everybody. Are you willing to put in the work of what it takes to get back on track? Are you willing to do that? If you're willing to do that, then you can come into this place, into this new space that I want to get a workable solution. 2 Timothy 1:7. Let's go there. 2 Timothy 1:7. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. I'm going to say it again. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, self-discipline. You've got to realize what God gives you. What God has given you, it is to give you power. So let's go over solution number one again. You must choose to have a controlled thought life and to be happy and healthy. We can all learn to improve our thinking and learning. We need to wire in positive thought networks that can fill us with power to get us back on track. Solution number two. To detox your thought life, you need to remember it's your thinking that will change your brain. Remember, it's your thinking that will change your brain. Science is catching up with the Bible daily. If you put your mind to it, solution number three, you can achieve what God says you can achieve. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve what God says you can achieve. Hold on one second, guys. I'm trying to get my okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to get everything get everybody where I can see them. And my screen was going a little haywire. Okay, there we go. So solution one, you can choose to have a controlled thought life and to be happy and healthy. We can all learn to improve our thinking by learning. Solution number two, to detox your thought life, you need to remember it's your thinking that will change your brain. Solution number three, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve what God says you can achieve. You control your brain. Your brain does not control you. The prototype. Choose the best workable solution and create a plan to build a prototype, which is you. Choose the best solution, or the best workable solution, and create a plan to build a prototype, which is you. A fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Will your prototype be actual size or a model? Be the you want to become, but be authentic. Let me say it again. Be the you want to become, but be authentic. Fixed mindset says, I can't do this at all. But a growth mindset says, I can't do this yet. A fixed mindset says, I'm not enough. A growth mindset says, I'm growing every day. Fixed mindset says, I'm so bad at it. A growth mindset says, I need to try more. Fixed mindset says, it's too hard for me. A growth says, it takes some time to get it. And many of us have said, I'm done. I'm just done. We've all said it, I'm done. And the growth mind says, what am I missing here? Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some allowance. Don't allow yourself to be stuck. Give yourself grace. You give yourself the grace. Stop allowing yourself. Sometimes you can beat yourself up so much so that you find yourself saying, I'm done. I'm not coming back to this. I'm going to move on. And you miss out on so much. Give yourself the grace to make a mistake. Give yourself the grace to do it all over again. Give yourself the grace to say, I can do this. And give yourself the grace to say, I can do this, even if I have to do it by myself. Give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up because it doesn't come fast enough. Remember, it said here, I'm not enough, but it says over here, I'm growing every day. We're still growing. Give yourself the ability and the time to grow. Growth is necessary in this season of your life. Testing the prototype. You cannot do brain surgery on yourself. You cannot do brain surgery on yourself. Why? You're not wired for that. God is the original designer of how the brain works, operates, and functions. Testimony. I think most of you are here tonight, but those that will watch it again on another opportunity, I am a stroke survivor. And one of the things that I learned about the strokes I had, I ended up having 3. It changed the way my brain thought. I learned that what happened on the right side of the brain affects the left side of the brain. If you have a stroke on the right side of your brain, it leaves you with the ability to be able to communicate what you're trying to get out. So my stroke happened on the left side of the brain, which caused me to be able to, I had to recategorize how I thought. So I saw things, but my brain saw it differently. So I was looking at how I was walking, but to me, I was walking straight. But to everybody else, I was leaning. To me, I was walking normal, but to everybody else, my leg was stepping up high. So my brain had to be recalibrated. And I had to give myself grace to do that. I was frustrated because I couldn't get it fast enough. I was frustrated because it was taking too long for me to get back to myself. But what I realized after some weeks, Erika, is going to take some time. And I had to give myself some grace to do that. And over time, I had to learn how to do things all over again. I had to learn how to walk straight. I had to learn how to focus on what I was going to do before I did it. I even had to learn how to drive again. I had to go to the DMV and take the test all over again because I'm partially blind in my left eye. I had to prove to them that I was able to get behind a motor vehicle and drive. But that took time. It took me 10 months for my brain to get back to a place that I could start thinking like what I thought was normal. 10 months. And then over a period of a year, it took me 12 months for me to start feeling myself to a sense of normalcy. And I'll never forget the nurse said to me, and she said, you do realize on these series of these TIAs, which are mini strokes, it takes your body 3 years to get back to where it used to be. I didn't believe it. I said, 3 years? I said, well, I had mini strokes. 3 years? And can I tell you, it took me 3 years to feel normal again. And by the time I got to the year 3, that's when I had stroke number 3. Stroke number 3 left some residual paralysis on the left side. So I had to go through physical therapy. I had to go through some rehab. I had to go through some rigorous training through my brain to tell myself this left side can work again. And I didn't want to do it. There were days I didn't want to go to physical therapy, but she kept telling me, Erika, because you're young, if you keep pushing, at that time I was 38, and she said, if you keep pushing, you're going to be able to gain full mobility of the left side, but I need for you to push. So I had to override the feeling that I didn't want to do it, but I had to think about the fact that my quality of life would be much better if I could push past what I was thinking. My brain was telling me I can't do this. I told myself, if I got to go through all this, then I don't want to do it. But I realized that I had much life left in me, so I had to push. What are you saying to me? I'm saying to you, don't give in to the pain. Don't give in to the pain that's in your brain. Don't give in to the pain that's in your heart. Your heart and your brain go together. What you feel in your heart affects what you feel, affects what you think in your brain. Give yourself time to heal. Healing is a process. There are stages of grief. And if I had time, I would go through that. I used to be a chaplain, and I used to do a lot of grief counseling. And one of the things I used to tell a lot of the individuals that I counsel, grief is a process. Give your time self to grieve. Grieving, it will not come overnight. And the first stage of grief is anger. That's the very first stage of grief is anger. You're angry. Why, God, did this happen to me? Why did I lose my child? Why did I lose my wife, my husband, my brother, my friend, my coworker? Why? That's the first stage. So in your mind, anger has set in your brain. And so for many people, they never heal because they never get past the first stage of grief, which is anger. If you can ever get past the angry stage and give yourself time to heal, you can get to the next stages of grief. Grief is real. And if you never allow yourself to heal, it starts in the mind. It starts in the mind. You've got to want to get past it. If you don't want to get past the stages of grief, you will stay in those stages of grief, and you'll never find. So you'll start being in a stage of denial. You'll start bargaining with God. Then you get into depression, and then you get into a stage of acceptance. But these are stages that you'll go through, and then you'll find yourself mourning all over again through all those stages. And eventually over time, many times it never gets, you never stop missing the individual, but you learn to focus on what the memories were. You learn to focus on those things. Last weekend, we got to share with our group last week, and one young lady, her son was murdered in 2017. Several of them had lost parents to COVID. And I'm sitting here listening to those stories, and we're sitting there, and I'm thinking like, wow, these are some stages. But what was amazing to me Even amongst the crying and the tears, many of them said that it hurt, but they're learning to live without the individual and to live on the memories. And yes, they still have bad days. And yes, there are days that they long to have them again, but they realize they're not coming back. So I've got to learn how to live past the pain. It starts in your mind. So learn how to get past yourself. And I must keep saying it all night. Give yourself some grace. When you give yourself the grace to live, give yourself the grace to grieve. I wasn't going tonight, but God must have needed somebody need to hear that tonight. So I needed to be obedient to the Holy Spirit and give you what God said tonight. The other thing is, did you have other people testing your brain by deflecting and reflecting themselves onto you and give you feedback? People will test how you think. I'm gonna pause for a second. People will test how you think. They will test your belief system. They will test your circle. They will test you in your environment. They will test you in your family. They will test you on your job, but it starts in your mind. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. What are you deflecting? Are you deflecting negative energy? If you're deflecting negative energy, other people pick up on that. If you're deflecting positive energy, people are drawn to you. Negative energy pushes people away. And when you are reflecting in your mind, you're reflecting upon, what am I giving off? Who do I want to attract? It's about the prototype. The prototype is, what are you building? You know, a lot of times with a prototype is something that they put on the market, and they want to get feedback to see if people are really going to like it or they're going to buy it. God designed us not just as a prototype, but he designed us as his original design. There'll never be another you. Your children may look like you. They may have some of your ways, but they'll never be you. You are the only you that God created. You are the only one. So remember, whatever you deflect, you reflect. Whatever you deflect, you reflect. Redesigning the prototype. Redesigning the prototype is your brain. Use the data from your testing to redesign with how you think, how you feel, how you balance your emotions. The front part of your brain is how you think, it's your memory, it's your behavior, it's your movement. The back part of your brain is your language, it's your touch. It's what men will call your love language. The middle part of your temporal lobe is your hearing and your learning and your feeling. Your optical in the back is how you see, it's your sight. That's the part of mind that was affected, was by sight. The steel of your brain affects your breathing, your heart, and your temperature. I'm gonna stick right there for a minute. Sometimes in thinking, you need to begin to breathe. Sometimes you can get anxiety just in thinking. And you need to learn how to breathe from your diaphragm. Take a deep breath, and then exhale. But you gotta breathe from your diaphragm. Breathe in and breathe out. What are you bringing in? And then I want you to write about the images that you see. That's going to be important. I'm going to give you some homework. That's going to be very important. So we're at the end of this thing. So the final results of this final thing is, I want you to gather your thoughts. So I want you to write down, I want you to gather your thoughts. I don't care if they're random thoughts. I don't care if they're thoughts of anger. I don't care if they're thoughts of, I want you to gather whatever thoughts that are on your mind. Just start writing them down. Gather them. Gather all your thoughts on one page. On page number 2, I want it to be a more focused reflection. A more focused reflection on who am I? And then number 2, I want you to write about that focused reflection. So when you're focused on your reflection, you're just sitting still and you're reflecting. Then I want you to write it. And then I want you to revisit it. Not in the same day, but revisit it. And then I want you to do an active reach, which is a contractual agreement with yourself. I want you to do a contract with yourself. Give yourself the grace to think. Remember, you're not a brain surgeon. God created the brain for his use. Number 3, focus on what you can change. And remember, you're not a brain surgeon. He is the original designer of your brain. And if God created you and I to be a direct reflection of who he is, we must be a good reflection of who God is in the marketplace, on our jobs, in our homes. Wherever we go, people are to see us as this positive energy and not as this negative energy. You are who you become. So I want you to realize, in order to detoxify how you think, remember, you are what you become. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So tonight was just a night to really breathe over, to really scave over those things that I want you to realize. You can change the way you think. You can maximize you if you change how you think and change your environment. Because our goal in the next 3 days is to change what's around you so you can change what's within you. Change what's around you so you can change what is within you. I pray tonight's lesson, tonight's class has been a blessing to you. I hope that tomorrow night that you would share with someone, inbox me. I can send a link out for tomorrow night's session. Tomorrow night, we're going to start getting into the 21 strategies on how to detox your brain, how to get your brain to the next level. By Thursday night, we should be to the place that when we finish Thursday night, you should be ready to go full force, full throttle on how to detox your brain and to maximize you to your fullest potential. To your fullest potential. Any questions? Any comments? I hope tonight's has been a good reflection of yourself. And I look forward to sharing with you all over the next couple of nights. And I hope that this is something that so give me some feedback, go back, email me, inbox me, let me know if you got something from it. But I'm telling you, ride this thing out with me for the next 2 days. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be engaging. But more than anything, I want us to become a better us as a people, as a community. And more than anything, I want you to be the best you can be. But more than anything, I want you to be authentic. Have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on the same platform.